All right. I believe everyone is muted. Perfect. I have everyone's names written down. All right. So hello, my name is Kathleen Maynard. Some of you may or may not know me. I'm pretty sure I know all of you, or if you've attended some of my trainings. So tonight there we go. Tonight we are going to be talking about water safety. I am pre-recording this just for future reference for future families and for families that could not attend tonight. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Like I said, this is going to probably be short and sweet, but please don't hesitate about asking any questions. This is the summertime, so water safety is important, but sometimes we do visit parks and go boating. So it's not just about pools, it's a lot more than that. So we will get started. I know how to work a device. Okay. So with that, knowing how to swim is exciting and opens the door to many opportunities, but water is not without risk. So learning to enjoy the water safely should be the first step for anyone who will be around water. You know, we all like to enjoy maybe going to the beach or going to the pool or even a hot tub, and just having that kind of relaxation. Those are really nice things to do. So tonight's agenda, we're going to go over a few statistics. We're going to be talking about safely swimming at home, and also the OCFS requirements. We're going to talk about swimming safely in lakes and oceans, and going on boats and docks. And then I'll share a few of the resources that I utilized. So some statistics, 88% of drownings happen with an adult present. Drownings can happen in as little as 20 seconds. 77% of those who have drowned were seen less than 5 minutes before being discovered. For every fatal drowning victim, another 8 receive emergency care for non-fatal drowning injuries. Oftentimes, they call drowning like the silent killer just because it happens so quickly. It's not what you picture in movies. You know, you see someone flailing around and calling out for help. It's not usually what is happening at that time. Any questions on these? Okay. So creating a safe environment at home. So as we know, if you already do have a pool, we've kind of already gone over, there's a PDP written, making sure that you have the appropriate equipment. There's someone coming in. Just want to make sure. If you are just joining me, do you mind putting your name in the chat? And I will put you on mute. Nope, just kidding. There we go. Okay. Oop. Gotta go back. Like I said, OCFS requirements. So we want to make sure we're installing the appropriate equipment. Installing a fence for at least 4 feet in height around the perimeter of the pool or spa. We do hopefully have those. We also want to make sure we're using self-enclosing or latchet gate. Second. Okay. If you're just joining us, put your name in the chat and I'll make sure I mark you down. We also want to make sure that the pools and spas have appropriate drain covers. You know, sometimes there's those cleanings, filtrations. We want to make sure those are covered appropriately. Also, keep the pool and spa covers in working order. We want to make sure everything is up to the requirements that we need. You know, if there's some malfunction, we want to make sure we're taking care of it. And also have life-saving equipment such as life rings or reaching poles available for use. So those are just a few things that we are requiring. And I'll talk a little bit more in the next slide. Pool alarms. Pool alarms are required by our agency, by OCFS. These must be capable of detecting a person entering the water at any point on the surface. Sometimes if your pool is very large, you may need more than one. So must be audible poolside and at another location on the premise. I have one home where it's actually, you can hear it in their kitchen. So it's really important to have it elsewhere, not just at the pool, because, as we're moving around, sometimes we might be inside. We want to make sure that alarm is able to be heard. So pool alarms are necessary. They are required for every pool. Please make sure you have them if you have a pool. I would also recommend possibly having one on a hot tub, because sometimes we do have like stepping stools to get into hot tubs. They're not always covered, which is a requirement, but making sure that we do have some kind of alarm set up. All I know is I just see a mound of food right there and it looks pretty good. The next slide is stay close, be alert, and watch. Always watch children and never leave them unattended. Keep children away from pool drains, pipes, and other openings. Have a charged phone close by at all times. If a child goes missing, check the pool first. Share safety instructions with family, friends, and neighbors. Even if a lifeguard is present, parents and caregivers should still take the responsibility of designating a water watcher. So this is really important. And I got this information and thinking I never really kind of thought about, with my own children having a water watcher. So making sure someone is, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I want you to make sure, you keep the eyes on the children. And the other part is have your phone charged. But another piece of that is put your phone down. I think sometimes we get so consumed and distracted by the device in front of us. We're keeping up to date. We might be taking pictures. We really need to start putting our phones down and being more aware of our surroundings and watching the kids, because things do happen fairly quickly. And as I mentioned, with drownings, it is pretty quiet. You don't hear a lot. So if we're distracted or we're listening to something, we're not necessarily keeping an eye on the kids, and we can miss something fairly quickly. The other piece, and I think I might go into this, is always check the pool first. And with that, I'm giving you guys, and if you need a link to this, this has been on social media a lot. Swimsuit color is really important. As you can tell, the darker the color, the harder it is to see the child. White, you can barely see. The bright colors work really well when you have them dark, especially when you're seeing the bubbles here. I think I thought it was interesting. I wasn't even thinking about the colors with my own child, and even myself. So now that I'm aware of that, I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna pick some brighter neon-y colors rather than the blues and the teals and maybe even lighter. Any questions on this piece? Okay. So if you want the link to this, or if you want me to print it out for you, I definitely can. Sometimes we don't think about this. I didn't think about this, but now I have a 2-year-old, so I am now aware. Portable pools. We even have the blow-up pools, right? So we want to make sure we're emptying and putting away the smaller portable pools after every use. I know this is kind of a pain in the butt because we're filling and refilling. However, again, a kid could trip into the small pool, and if they're a little one, this could lead to drowning, okay? Once the pool is set up, ensure high levels of supervision. If it is one of those portable pools, fence the portable pool, encourage your neighbors to do the same, because, kids they could wander. If we have neighbors that have pools or portable pools, we want to make sure that we're communicating with our neighbors and saying, hey, just to be aware. I was actually just talking to one of my foster families, and they're like, yeah, we just have new neighbors came in and they have younger kids. We were having this discussion about their alarms and things like that. And she goes, I think it's a good idea for me to talk to them about making sure, their kids are welcome to come over, but it needs to be on my time. They need to be here, supervision. So maybe getting to know your neighbors, but having that conversation with them is important. The next piece is cover larger portable pools and put access ladders away when adults are not present. The ladders are necessary to put away. I know, again, if it's been a long day, you're tired, and you're like, we just want to get inside. We have to be mindful of the surroundings. We have to be mindful that this is something a child could use. They could climb into the pool. We don't want to even give them that. We want to put up a barrier before they can even attempt to get into the pool. Again, covers are important to have as well. As I talked about with the other pools, is install alarms on doors leading from the house to the pool area that will alert you when someone enters the pool area. Pool area is choice. You can also have this if you have a gated backyard. If someone goes back there, we want to make sure there's an alarm too. Teach children to swim, float, and other basic life-saving skills. At the end of this, I actually have a woman, I believe her name is Hillary. She is in the Chautauqua area, and she does one-on-one training for swimming lessons. She specializes especially into infants. So we want to make sure our kids are getting those swimming lessons if we can. Connect with the YMCA. I know I'm very fortunate. My child's school does swim lessons and teaching, so that's awesome. Do not consider your young child drown-proof just because they've had swimming lessons. Things can happen. If a child slips and maybe bumps their head, or just in the moment of panic, they can forget those skills as well. So we want to make sure that we're providing them the skills, but understanding that they're still not drown-proof. Again, making sure your neighbors, babysitters, and visitors know about the pool's presence in your yard. Say, hey, I've got a pool. I make sure I take my alarm or my ladder out at night, or I set my alarm. We make sure it's covered. Just having, again, those conversations, because even if, you're gone for the night, you want to make sure that those around you are paying attention, to their own children, saying, hey, there's a pool over there. I see it's open. We got to make sure our kids don't even wander. So just having those conversations is important. Okay, so we're going to move on to beach safety. As we all know, we have the lovely Lake Erie. We have Chautauqua Lake. We are in a great area to have beaches, but it's important to be mindful. So there are waves, currents, and undertows that can happen in an instant. I know that for myself, I live right on Chautauqua Lake. My son likes to go and jump in the lake once in a while. He'll go off the docks or go on the little beach that we do have. And I'm kind of paying attention to the weather and saying, hey, buddy, it's really windy out there. They're saying the waves are pretty high. Please don't go to the beach today. I want you to stay here. And I know there's lifeguards and things like that, but if he happens to use the dock, I want him to be aware of his surroundings. And we've talked about that. We've had conversations. He's old enough to have a conversation. So again, keeping in mind that if your child is standing in 12 to 18 inches of water, a 2-foot wave can bring water completely over his or her head. So making sure your child remains in only knee-deep water. It's vacation time. We like to go to nice hot spots and enjoy the weather, but at the same time, we have to be mindful. What is the condition of the water? If we're going to go visit the ocean, what's the waves looking like? Is there an area of pretty quick undertows and currents? Just because those can sweep them under so quickly, and you wouldn't even know it. So again, it's all about being mindful, being aware of your surroundings, keeping an eye on the weather. And oftentimes these places will give you a heads up and say, hey, the waves are pretty high, they're pretty strong. It's do not recommend, do not swim. Sometimes warnings that they will give. Any questions on that piece? Okay. So as with the pool, I also presented a lake one. So again, as you see, the brighter the colors, the better. This blue pretty much disappears. Green's not really, you can't really see the green. It's all about that bright orange, bright yellow, kind of a highlighter color. White is hard to see. Black is definitely not, you're not able to see. So just again, let's be mindful of maybe it's not all about fashion. Maybe it's about safety. So, having this is important to know. Okay. So continuing on with that beach safety, when you're at the beach, make sure your child's dressed in bright colors, just like I showed you. So he or she is easier to spot, especially not even just in the water, but even in the crowds. If you're going to popular vacation spots, having that designated color for your children. Also, it's recommended that you take a picture of your child just in case you do get separated. And then you can show the lifeguard that's on duty, say, hey, my kiddo, this is what they were wearing. Can you help me find them? It just helps that way. Again, if your child is ever lost, you can show others exactly what your child was looking like. Apparently, I didn't finish that sentence. Okay. As I mentioned, this is going to be a short and sweet training, but I think it's, again, a lot of information. So with the boat, lake, creek safety, lakes and rivers can be especially dangerous because of their dark and sometimes fast-moving water. Therefore, effective supervision of your child anytime he or she is around the dock, river, or lake is especially critical safety tool. Okay, no problem. So also it's recommended having a rope and throwing a ring on your boat or dock, such as these can be used in a moment's notice. I believe Luis and Tobe, you guys have a boat, right? Maybe Tobe can't hear me, but they do have a boat. Do not allow small children to ride in the front of the boat while the boat is moving. Uncontrollable wakes can propel a child from the boat. Now, mind you, if you have a boat or just getting a boat or thinking about a boat, as an agency, we will put together a partnership development plan so we make sure that you are following the critical steps. So again, your boat is meeting the safety requirements, that the child has the right safety equipment that a where is my word? A ring, a safety ring, life-saving ring, there we go, is on board as well, and that you have the right equipment. So you know that you can contact the Coast Guard or anything like that. So making sure that child is safe, that your boat is meeting those safety requirements is important. And that's why we have those PDPs to review as well. Okay. So with the boats, lakes, creeks safety, so avoid open water areas with large waves or dangerous currents. So teach kids and teens how to read posted signage and flags for warning. So again, sometimes we hear these, they'll pop up as alerts saying, hey, high waves at this time. I know myself, I grew up in Lake Erie, so that's something that we looked at, and now that I'm on Chautauqua Lake, I'm also being cautious and mindful of that. Teach kids to enter the water feet first. Diving head first can lead to spinal injury or death, especially when kiddos don't know how to do it properly. They could do it incorrectly, and that can cause some damage. Also, make sure kids check the swimming areas for hazards, not just kids, but the adults too. So in addition to looking for posted warnings, they should check for dangerous items such as tree stumps, debris. My kiddo, he's well aware of when the seaweed gets really high because he is, we've talked about him possibly getting his feet tangled in it. So knowing those spots and knowing what is clear and what is not. Set a checkpoint and a check-in time. So pick a spot to meet up if you get separated, or a time for your child to call you and check in if you're not with them. So that's for the older kiddos. But definitely make a meeting spot. So hey, if we do get separated, we're gonna meet all at the bathrooms, okay? Or when you have an older kid and say, hey, we're gonna meet at 2 o'clock. This is the designated area. So making sure you have a plan set in place and everyone is aware of that plan as well. So like I said, short and sweet. So with this, there's a review. So I want you to provide close and constant attention to children you are supervising in or near the water. Swim in designated areas supervised by lifeguards. Always swim with a buddy. Do not allow anyone to swim alone. Provide close and constant attention to children you are supervising. Even when a lifeguard is present, no matter how well the child can swim or how shallow the water, avoid distractions, including your cell phones. Never leave a young child unattended near water, and do not trust a child's life to another child. Teach children to always ask permission to go near the water. If you have a pool, secure it with appropriate barriers to prevent unsupervised access to the water. That is so important. Make sure there are barriers. Make sure there's a gate alarm. Make sure the ladder is removed. Make sure the cover is put on. Many children who drown in home pools did so during non-swim times when they weren't expected to be in the water, including as the swimming activity was coming to an end and everyone was thought to be out of the water. Children were often out of sight for less than 5 minutes and in the care of one or both parents at the time. Ensure that everyone in the family learns to swim well and what to do in a water emergency. Also, designate a water watcher whenever in a group setting. Take smart precautions and use layers of protection. Again, those barriers. Stay within an arm's reach of any weak or inexperienced swimmer who is in the water. Have young children or inexperienced swimmers wear U.S. Coast Guard approved life jackets around the water, but do not rely on the life jackets alone. And do not rely on any the use of the water wings, swim rings, inflatable toys, or other items designated for water recreation to replace adult supervision. Kid gets flipped over on some kind of float device. Maybe they're stuck and they're floating and their head's upside down. That is dangerous. That is part of drowning. So being mindful with that. The other piece I want to remind you guys of, it did talk about checking the pool first. And as I was doing research, it said you need to clear the pool after your use. So if you're leaving that pool area, take all the toys, the floating devices out of the pool. Because what has happened is that kiddos that fall in and are drowning sometimes get lost in the mix of the pool toys. So we want to take precaution. We want to make sure everything's cleared out. If someone does go missing, we have a clear view of the pool. Again, the child should be wearing bright colors so we are able to see if they are in the pool. So again, do not rely on those safety equipment or the water wings because they're just there to help a child in the moment. However, if a child's out of the pool and they're not wearing those wings or a swim ring or an inflatable stuff, they might have this confidence, like I can just go in this pool, where really they should not be going in the pool. So sometimes those can actually lead to building confidence, and a kid will enter the pool without them. But do not rely on them, please. So with that, the resources I used were part of the Red Cross. Now I've added the infant swim. The infant swim is the infant swim, I forget, it's SISR. And what it is, again, it focuses a lot on younger kiddos, but they can do swim lessons for any age. But they can teach children at a very young age. I was just looking at the woman's webpage and she had a 11th month old floating. And so it's pretty neat. And so Hillary McCandles, I can't pronounce her last name, she's actually in the Chautauqua area, But if you go onto this website, you can find other instructors. There's some in the Buffalo area. We are limited to the ISR trainers, but we do have the YMCA that does swim lessons. Some of our schools do them as well. So we do have a lot of sources to get these trainings for our kids and for ourselves to build confidence. So with that, does anyone have any questions? Like I said, this was pretty short and sweet, but I will still give you the credit for the entire time. But any questions on the water safety itself? Okay. So if you do end up getting a pool or a hot tub, or a boat, jet ski, anything like that, I need to know, the other family resource coordinators need to know, because we want to make sure that we're having a conversation and that we're putting a safety plan in place. Again, those children also need to have, for any of the boats and things like that, is permission from the biological family as well. So if no one has any questions on this, I will end it. Like I said, short and sweet. Thank you for attending. I hope you can pass on this information to others. I think it's important, not just for the pool safety, but again, when we're at the beach, we're at lakes, we're out at the creek, just being aware of our surroundings, being aware of what our kids are doing. And again, important piece, put the phone down. Keep an eye on our kids. They are our number one priority. So with that, I will bid you good night. Thank you all for attending, and I think I have everyone's information. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kat.
No problem.